She spoke openly about her belief that the cases were connected, about the weekly DNA searches that kept coming back empty, and about her refusal to let two young women be forgotten. The interview was both a plea for information and a declaration that some cases are too important to abandon, no matter how many decades pass without answers. The breakthrough came from an unexpected direction. In 2018, investigators in California made headlines by using a new technique called forensic genetic genealogy to identify the Golden State Killer. Instead of relying on criminal databases, they used public genealogy websites to find distant relatives of unknown suspects. It was revolutionary, and it gave cold case investigators across the country new hope. In November 2019, 49 years after Nancy's death and 14 years after Mickey first picked up the case, the current investigative team decided to try the new approach. They took the DNA profile that had sat unused for so long and uploaded it to a public genealogy database. Instead of looking for an exact match, they were now searching for people who shared portions of DNA with Nancy's killer relatives who might not even know they were related to a murderer. The genealogy investigation required painstaking work, building family trees that stretched back generations and following DNA connections through marriages, births, and deaths. Investigators worked with genetic genealogists who specialized in cold cases, carefully verifying every lead and connection. The passage of time complicated everything. Many potential sources were dead. 1970s records were harder to access, and the team had to piece together not just family relationships, but also decades-old residential histories. Months passed as they identified and ruled out several possible suspects, some with solid alibis, others living in different states when Nancy was killed. The process was frustrating, but it represented more progress than they had made in decades. Then, in July 2022, everything clicked into place. The genetic genealogy led them to a family line that included a man named Richard, the same Richard who had been interviewed back in 1970. The investigators couldn't believe it. Nancy's killer had been questioned within weeks of the crime, had sat across from detectives and answered their questions, and had walked away free. To confirm their suspicions, they needed a direct DNA comparison. Richard had died in 1997 from complications related to alcoholism, but the investigators were able to obtain DNA from a living relative who agreed to help. The comparison was definitive. Richard was Nancy's killer.